This is your midweek Barbados Today news update for Wednesday, November the 8th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. 2 new desalination plants are in the pipeline for water-scarce Barbados. Deputy Chief Town Planner George Brown announced the move this morning as he addressed students on the final amended draft physical development plan for Barbados. He revealed that his department has received applications for the establishment of desalination plants at Harrison in St. Lucie and Ealing Grove Christchurch. Brown said the investors of the project were currently preparing environmental impact studies.
The Barbados Water Authority is in the final stages of, they have done a comprehensive study of the water, and what you will shortly see is a reclassification of the water zones. And we all know that Barbados receives about 40% of its water from the Bell pumping station, which is a Zone 1 area. So the study that they're currently finalizing, they have redefined the water zones. And what we would have done since those zones, they have not been counted, but we made provision in the plan for those water zones.
Barbados must take action now to upgrade houses, buildings and other infrastructure in preparation for severe weather systems. Director of Consulting Engineers Partnership, Tony Gibbs, warned this morning that any delay could end in a rude awakening for the country. He was speaking at a symposium organized by the Barbados Town Planning Society as the island observed World Town Planning Day. Citing the recent devastation of Hurricanes Maria and Irma in the Northern Caribbean, Gibbs says all the data shows the Caribbean can expect these intense weather systems and worse in the next decade as a result of climate change.
Most codes in North America, and increasingly so in the Caribbean, they categorize buildings as well as categorizing hurricanes. So the categories of buildings are in Roman numerals, and the categories for hurricanes are in Arabic numerals. Category 2 buildings are buildings like this, like your home, hotels, and general office buildings. Most buildings are category 2. And so for category 2 buildings, with the increase in annual frequency of category 4 and 5 hurricanes being 250%, you go up along this line in a crosshair, and you have a 13% increase in wind speeds. So the wind speeds in all the codes that you would be normally familiar with, you have to increase those wind speeds by 13% to cater for climate change in the Eastern Caribbean. Now, category 3 and 4 buildings are the more important buildings in the community, such as referral hospitals. And those buildings already attract higher wind speeds in our present codes and standards. But still, we need to increase those wind speeds even further by another 10% to allow for climate change.
Barbados now has 17 new justices of the peace. In a ceremony held at Government House this morning, the new JPs took the oath of allegiance and judicial oath before acting Governor General Sir Philip Graves. Familiar faces including Government Ministers Steve Blackett and Donville Innes, Senators Harcourt Husbands and Andrea Worrell, and General Secretary of the Democratic Labour Party George Pilgrim. JPs perform varying roles including signing and certifying legal documents. Barbadians have been paying dearly for poor accounting practices of state entities. That's the view of Internal Audit Manager with Sagicor Life, Crystal Howell, one of the speakers at a public forum entitled Enhancing Public Accountability, the Role of the Auditor General. She said, while there's hardly any action resulting from the Auditor General's report, the country's failure to address the shortfall is having a negative impact.
This is not the first time that you would have heard of these instances. A lot of the issues that have arisen have been recurring for a great number of years. The only thing that changes sometimes is the amount, and many times it gets worse. And we see, it feels as though there's no improvement, or there's a lack of will to improve what is happening. So when we have situations where you have $73 million that for the bank reconciliations that persons cannot account for, or you have $13 billion in debt, and you can't tell how much is supposed to be current versus long-term, and we understand the impact of not having an idea about these areas. You have $1.3 million in potential bad debts and unauthorized advances, and you start to think about things like the amount of money that they're expecting from the NSRL and additional taxes that they have implemented, the number of state-owned entities that have had reduced subsidies and transfers. We begin to link the opportunity cost of not adhering to these reports for so many years and the impact it has had directly on the pockets of Barbadians. And I don't think there's anybody right now that hasn't felt the impact, whether it is that you can't go on as many vacations as you would have liked, or your supermarket bill has had to be cut tremendously so that you will be able to cope with the measures that have had to be implemented. We have all felt the impact of not paying attention.
Barbados will not be a dumping ground for any inferior products from international markets or its CARICOM neighbors. That's the word of Commerce Minister Donville Innes, who says the island cannot afford to take any shortcuts when it comes to protecting consumers. The issue is currently under discussion as the Barbados National Standards Institution hosts a 3-day workshop. Innes told the opening the Ministry of Commerce must ensure that high standards are upheld.
The folks up north know the standards. They're not going to produce something for us, for their market, that they should not produce for us. And therefore, we must insist. And that is why occasionally departments like Commerce and other parts of my ministry would occasionally have to deny entry into Barbados some of the goods that come into our space, or insist that importers do change the labels to conform with the standards we have here.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Join us from November 16th to 19th, 2017 for the Barbados Food and Rum Festival, where acclaimed Barbadian chefs and mixologists are joined by Chef Jean-Georges of the US, Chef Tom Akins of the UK, Chef Chris De La Rosa of Canada to create dining experiences to delight the senses. Visit ticketpal.com and all TicketPal locations to get your tickets, and visit foodandrum.com for more information.
To the region now, as the St. Lucia murder toll climbs to 49 so far this year, National Security Minister Herman Guild Francis says his ministry will convene a national crime symposium later this month. Minister Francis says government is concerned about the level of crime and violence in the country and is ready to pursue a bipartisan approach to finding solutions.
I'm in the process and I'm bringing it to cabinet. I have a few names of persons and organizations that I want to invite, but I'm going to be giving my colleagues an opportunity to give me a few names. So persons like the media will have at least 2 representatives, the Chamber of Commerce, the Insurance Council, the Youth Council, differently able people, the LGBT people, Christian Council, everybody I think that has that can make a contribution. We will be inviting them to that one-day symposium.
And finally, on the international front, doctors in Delhi declare a public health emergency as air quality in the world's most polluted capital city plunged to levels likened to smoking at least 50 cigarettes in a single day. Slow winds and colder temperatures have been blamed for a surge in airborne pollutants beyond what instruments in the city could measure. The Indian Medical Association has called for an upcoming half marathon to be cancelled to avoid disastrous health consequences. Residents have also been warned to avoid leaving their homes as smog enveloped streets and landmarks, sparking road, rail and airport delays. Now, Delhi's chief minister said the city was a gas chamber as its government hold talks to consider a response to the crisis. That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook. We are also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Have a fantastic day.